Good evening. Welcome to Right Talk with Mike Lee. My guest this evening is a gentleman by the name of Jeff Morgan.
Jeff Morgan.
I just met Jeff formally, but we ran into each other at a seminar a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
But I want to start the show off a little differently than I started my other shows.
Okay.
I have some things I want to get off my chest and hopefully preface what Jeff and I have to talk about today and share with you. In my view, there's been no question that this country has been involved in a cultural war characterized by attacks against institutions that form the basis for the progress of this civilization. The family and family structure has been a focus of many of these attacks, through the press, media, education, and sadly sometimes through legislation and court edicts. I may perhaps view these developments from a different perspective than that of most laypersons, as I've been worked in legal field for over 4 decades. So 40 years, I'm old now. In fact, most of my practice focuses on the family law area. I am especially disappointed and sometimes outraged at the conduct, misconduct, lack of professionalism, and the incompetence of many family law professionals, including judges, attorneys, psychologists, psychiatrists, bar associations, and those who provide visitation of the services. In many respects, they appear to be nothing more than hustlers who prey on the vulnerable and actually traffic children and parents in family courts. The family courts of virtual organized crime revolves around domestic violence, male supremacist organizations and ideas and attitudes, government programs, federal and state financing, and the trafficking of women and children in the family court system throughout America. The best interest of the child seemed like a trite phrase that's used to disguise these damnable practices in what is proclaimed to be the most civilized, the most advanced of civilization that ever existed on earth. This is sad to me, but I believe that is what's happening. I believe there's been an attack on the family, and I believe that you may have seen, you can see Jeff Morgan on the videos that he has. His focus is also on the family, just as mine is.
That's right.
That's what I'm focusing on this season because I think the family is crucial.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my introduction, you saw some of my family.
Yes.
I say some of it because I have over, counting all the nieces and nephews I have and all those people, it's over. My baby brother and I, we stopped counting when we got over to 100.
Okay.
It's probably more than, it's certainly more than that.
Yeah.
But Jeff, I want to welcome you to the show, bro.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I want my audience, first of all, for you to tell my audience a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Jeff Morgan. I'm actually from Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania. When I was in high school, and this happened basically because of my parents' divorce. My parents got divorced. My father received the notification that they were divorced on my 16th birthday. As a teenager, I was crushed, to see your parents living in 2 different households. It was a family that was designed to be together. And then all of a sudden, it's not together anymore. And, it led me to a lot of searching, for myself. There was a deep hole in my heart, there's times that you get angry inside because of divorce. Your parents, your family's supposed to be together, and we saw the destruction of our family. And during that time then, 17 to 18, that area is when I started to really seek after, what is the purpose and meaning in life and everything. So I became a Christian in high school. And I will tell you that actually changed my life, and I thank God. Sometimes he uses crises or things like divorce to bring people closer to him. Sometimes divorce actually destroys people too. But in my case, I will say that it caused me to seek after Christ. And eventually then I said, okay, my life is now his. I went to Bible college. I said I want to go into missions. I want to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. So I went to Bible college. I met the lady who I married up there. After that, I went to the Army for 4 years and went to seminary, was an assistant pastor for a time. And eventually we got to the Middle East as missionaries in the country of Jordan among Iraqi refugees. Now we were there for 5 years. From 1999 to 2004, I came back to the States. Things were going on in the country that really caused some concern with me. I saw things that were happening that I thought, here I am supposed to be a missionary, but in order to protect my family, I wanted to almost pick up a rifle or something like that. I said, because the military stuff is in you as well. I said, this is not working out the way that it should for me. I have this conflict. It's probably best for me to go back. So that's what I did, and I think probably the best event after that was in 2012. I was a grassroots coordinator for the grassroots campaigner for the Rick Santorum campaign. I was credited winning a few states. But one of the things I always appreciated about Rick is that he fought for the life of unborn children. He was the one who was largely responsible to get partial birth abortion abolished. And he always talked about the family, the importance of the family. The first economy is the family. The biggest issue that we're facing in America is the breakdown of the family. You fix the family, and a lot of these other issues start to decrease. It's the breakdown of the family that causes a lot of these problems.
Okay. You kind of exactly where I am, because I believe that the family is the foundation.
Right. It is the foundation.
And if you want to destroy society or civilization, the best way to do it is to destroy the family.
Yeah. And let me, as long as you're saying that, because I know we're going to talk about the issue of unilateral divorce, but when in the Bolsheviks, when Vladimir Lenin was in Bolshevik Russia, one of the things he decided to do, he had to attack the family. He had to abolish the family, because why? Strong families are one of the best preservations for liberty and freedom. Strong families are what we need to enable us to have limited government. Well, if you're trying to impose communism on a society, you've got an institution, the family, that will oppose you. So how do you break that down? And one of the things he did, he created what was called unilateral divorce. It basically gave any person the right to divorce his spouse or her spouse for any reason, for no reason. And that was designed to abolish the family. It caused such huge problems that there became a national debate over whether this was good for society or bad for society. But what really I don't understand is that in America, we saw the failure of that model in Bolshevik Russia, and yet that is basically what we have now in our divorce courts, in our family courts in America. We have taken the Bolshevik model to destroy the family, and we've imported that to America. That's what we're trying to change this year, at least in the state of Texas.
Well, what I see, Jeff, on top of that is the family now can be 2 men and a dog, 2 women and a dog, 2 people and a dog.
Yeah.
And I fear that one day it could be a man and a dog, or a man and a horse, a man and a cow, mule, or whatever you want.
Yeah. And it's very interesting that you mentioned that, because right now there are some people in this upcoming session, in our Texas Constitution, it says that marriage is between a man and a woman.
Yeah.
It's not between a man and a dog, or 3 men and a woman, or what. No, right. They're trying to change that, and I hope that we stay firm, because as a state we have the right to define what marriage is. And what would happen is if that gets changed, what happens if some Supreme Court decision gets backed down? We want to make sure that our Constitution is intact, that marriage is still defined as the relationship of a man and a woman. But what we've missed a lot of times is that if you look back to the relationship between a man and a woman, it used to be that a man and a woman would come together for life, and this was the unit in which children were brought into the world. Marriage is a protection for children and for the family. Marriage is for the family, divorce is for adults. And children should be before adults.
Strange, because even in my family, of course, we've had marriages and divorces in my family,
right.
But when people, when my older brothers and sisters divorced, whoever they were married to, we treated divorce. That divorce was between them. That didn't involve us.
Right.
Because we still treat them just like we always treated them.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. I think the same thing. First off, we're never going to eliminate divorce, but there are steps that we can take to reduce divorce. And what really is a shame is when you see things happen with divorce. And I'm in general, I think I'm not for divorce on demand, obviously. I know divorce does happen at times, but why does that mean that you have to destroy extended family? Or as you said, you might have had a relationship with your sister-in-law or a brother-in-law. Why should you have to choose sides in that situation?
Well, we've always maintained those relationships. But what I see in our culture that disturbs me is just the whittling away of what makes sense.
Right.
I mean, what's common sense? What's right in front of you?
Yeah.
We have now. It's like you can choose your gender. That's insane.
Yeah. It is insane.
I mean, I know in the 50s it was insane, but somewhere along the line, liberals got a hold of it, now it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, when you start talking about some of these issues, they are direct attacks on the family as well. And here's, it might take me a moment to get to the point here, but you know, the best environment for a child in almost every instance, and the vast majority of instances, is to be raised in an intact family with his natural mother and natural father. Two men cannot have a child together. Two women cannot have a child together. They have to get a child from a union of a man and a woman. And, you know, there is something about the nature of the family, and I'm going to say it's God ordained, because as a Christian, that's what I believe, is that, you know, God brought the family. It was the first institution. The family existed before the church existed. And if you look in the Old Testament, God is very adamant that, you know, a man and a woman are supposed to stay together, because in Malachi it says he wanted to see godly offspring. So even God himself knows, he says, you know, in order to see these children grow up to be everything that they should become, it takes a man and a woman working together. And what I see happening today is if you have, say, same-sex couples that are getting children, now you have a child who obviously is not with one of his parents or her parents. Because you can't have a man and a man creating a child, or a woman and a woman creating a child. So that child is losing part of his identity, and in a sense you're basically saying parents aren't that important. And yet, from a Christian perspective, we would say parents are important, because it's the union of a man and a woman that the child is born into that family. And I don't know if you follow me where I'm going with that or not.
You know, another thing that disturbs me, Jeff, is too many instances the state and government gets involved in what should be family matters.
Right.
I mean, they dictate how many bedrooms you have to have, how many children.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, in my mom and dad's house, with 11 kids and 3 bedrooms, we would have been in violation of something.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's insane.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. And I understand, in a sense, when the state is saying, okay, we've seen problems, because there are problems in our society, and sometimes those issues can contribute to problems. So I could see the state saying we have an interest in this, but I do also at the same time agree that they do get themselves involved in family matters where they should not be involved. And the state is not the parent of the child. The parents are the parents of the child. And that's when we start to, the states are going to dictate what a good parent can do, what a good parent does, what a good parent might believe or think. A good parent may not homeschool the child. I mean, they have their own definitions of a good parent. And but really, it is the parents who are the parents of the child. I hear where you're going with it. I don't, personally, I understand when the state says we have some concerns and interests, but it should be to keep the family together. My biggest concern is when the state comes in and says, like as in the state of Texas, we can decree your family divorced and broken for any reason, for no reason. One person can make up a reason, and there's nothing you can do about it. You have no defense. And that's my issue with the state. Why is the state breaking up families? I can go into that further, but I don't want to hog the conversation right now.